You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm thy friendship. Oh, how
you know what time it is. I'm brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive. Stiff arms to your jaw, we breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown, we taking it.
What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk about college football with real fans. I'm Devan. That's Melo. That's Tony. And tonight, man, he needs zero introduction. Juck, how you doing, my dude?
Gentlemen, how we doing, guys?
We're good. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic, man. Happy to be here again.
Yeah, I got to listen to Day and Chip Kelly, the press conference today, a couple players. We'll get into that a little more, but just the fact that we're having press conference means it's the week before the game, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited about that, to be able to watch these Buckeyes' first playoff game in this shoe. It's an historical game, so I'm excited there. But what I wanted to do real fast is run through just a couple things that we got going on in the transfer portal real fast. But first, shout out everybody in the chat, man. Steely, Sean, Buck65, all you regulars in there, man. We appreciate you. Stay engaged in the show, man. Couldn't do this without you guys. So, Juck, before I bring in this information that I have on the transfer portal, different things like that. How are you feeling the Buckeyes are doing the transfer portal? It's a weird season because we got to get ready for the playoffs, but we also have to be looking in the transfer portal to build our team for next year. So where are you at with that? Are you thinking the Buckeyes, obviously they got to juggle it, but do you think they're maybe waiting a little bit till after the playoffs, or how are you feeling about where we're at in the transfer portal?
Well, you got guys entering the portal and finding destinations, and it's not an excuse. You got an entire recruiting team. You got Pantoni and all his crew. You got Josh Thompson coming in for a visit. My hope was that dude doesn't leave and go to those other visits. And what did we see over the weekend? We saw Dylan Thieneman go to Oregon and not leave, didn't take his visit to us. And I wanted to see the same thing with Josh Thompson. He got out. And I just it's like, you didn't spend the money in offensive line recruiting on the trail, as we all know. This is the time to spend the money. And yes, it's going to cost the money. Lock these dudes down. Like, they're coming off the board as we speak. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sit around and wait. That's my thoughts on it. So I'm starting to get a little stressed out, to be honest. But, we're always a little stressed out when it comes to offensive line talent acquiring. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Ben Lee in the chat, Eli Lee's dad. Ben, appreciate you being here, man. Appreciate you for sure. We enjoyed that interview with Eli, no doubt. Juck, I feel you, bro. I was just under the same sentiment. Like, when you look at, we all know where we're at with offensive line. We're kind of got to get into that just a little bit here. But, yeah, you just don't let that dude leave. You know what I'm saying? I feel the same way, because in today's day and age with money and different things like that, and I just wish I was a fly on the wall to see, like, how this process was being done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I keep hearing about, the most confidence I have right now is for the USC running back Quentin Joyner, right? And I'm like, I wish it was an offensive lineman that I had the most confidence in right now. You know what I mean? But he visited. Supposedly the Alabama running back Justice Hayes is trying to get a visit here at Ohio State. Obviously, Josh Thompson, a Northwestern, Juck just spoke about him. He visited as well. And we are leading in the On3 prediction machine, which is an absolute joke. And I think it's so funny how everybody gets so excited that we're winning by like 52% there, and everybody wants to talk about it. But a surprise visitor that I didn't know about was the offensive tackle from Rice, Ethan, 6'6", 345, redshirt junior. 1 sack and 294 snaps. He visited Iowa, then he visited Ohio State on Sunday. So that was interesting to see. He's a top-rated offensive tackle in the portal. Then we got Isaiah World. He's visiting Nebraska right now, and he's expected to be at Ohio State. He's the one that Justin Fry told can play guard here.
6'8".
Ohio State, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Then Phillip Daniels, offensive tackle from Minnesota. He's out of Cincinnati from the 2023 class, 6'5", 315. Some people are saying that's a done deal to Ohio State, but who the heck knows? And then we offered the FCS freshman All-American Brady Norton out of Cal Poly, 6'5", 290. So, yeah, it seems like we're making a bunch of offers and we're doing the legwork, but none of that stuff really matters unless they sign the dotted line. Don't matter if we're the favorite. Don't matter if they visit. None of that stuff matters unless we can finish it. But anybody got any thoughts? What we got going on, hearing all these offensive tackles, offensive linemen here. And also I'm going to throw in Will Conroy, the 1 out of the 4 Ohio offensive linemen, the class that's everybody's saving grace for Justin Fry and recruiting. He's gone already. He's already gone to Oklahoma, just committed to Oklahoma. So thoughts on where we're at with the transfer portal right now?
I'm just praying that we land somebody. Like I said, when you have those feelings, all your negative feelings have come true the entire season.
I know, man.
It's looking like you're going to be right again this season. I mean, Juck, Dev had a feeling like we weren't going to land anything in the transfer portal because of Coach Fry and his incompetence. And I was trying to be positive about it. Like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to throw money at the issue. Like, kids aren't going to turn down the money. But the more each day passes, the more I feel like Devan probably is right.
So I still think that we're going to definitely to hit those numbers. I just don't know if it's going to be, the Buckeyes' top 10 choices or their, bottom 10% choices. Who knows? But I want to hit on that comment that Devan said. I want to make sure everybody understands what he kind of hit on it real quick there. But we're talking about Isaiah World, the number 1 tackle in the portal, right? And Fry, his comment of what his conversation was with Fry was, he was talking about guard, maybe tackle. I want tackle. That was his quote. And it blew me away. Like, do you not know who you're speaking to? Or are you really talking about taking the best tackle in the portal and converting him into a guard, a 6'8" guard? I couldn't believe that when I read it. It just sounds like staggering incompetence. And I've been talking about it for, 8 months about this Ohio 4, the best 4 linemen in Ohio, that everybody kept telling us, don't worry about the class of 2025 because there's this great crop of kids in Ohio. Well, I talked to all these kids, and I've been saying all along, I don't think the ceiling is 4 guys. I think it's 2 out of those guys. And as you've seen, Will Conroy comes off the board at 5 p.m. I talked about it yesterday on the show. Like, this kid loves Ohio State, has loved Ohio State his entire life, wanted to be at Ohio State. You can read between the lines there. It's sad. This is what's happening. I don't understand how this can happen at Ohio State, that you've got an offensive line coach who doesn't put forth the effort, but that is what I'm hearing from these guys. He just doesn't put forth the effort to communicate, and it's like he thinks the badge on the chest is going to do all the legwork. It's not. It's sad, man. I don't get it. If this is not his last year, then I'll be beyond myself. I just don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, Juck, we did a whole show just on that interview with Isaiah World because
did you?
It was an emergency show too because it was like
Blows
10 o'clock at night. It was 10 o'clock at night. I read that and I was just I had enough because I try to be so positive. I really do, and I get that. Yeah, Seth McLaughlin came here, won the Remington Award. I get that Simmons came in. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. I get those things. Those are transfers, right? The truth is 2 things can be true. He can get credit for those, but that's it, dude. There's nothing else. What else is there? And the fact that we're going to dive into this is going to be a good transition, actually. I want to get your guys' thoughts as well on what we heard today, that we're going to be rotating offensive linemen in this playoff game. But the fact that Luke's name got brought up today, and it wasn't brought up previously when there's been, or we didn't make that decision previously. My point I'm trying to make is you see all over the place the Missouri game, the Carson Hinsman not coming off the bench, the Will Conroy going to Oklahoma, the recruiting misses, all this. There's a list 10 miles long of where he has just let us down, let Buckeye Nation down. And there's two things that I have on my list where I can give him an applause for it, which you can. You know what I'm saying? He did those things, but where are you guys at with that? Am I missing something? Is there anything else that we're missing on Fry's list?
I'm going to just say something real quick, and just to hit on that, it's not going to be that long. So before the press conferences today, I was at a 9. I would say an 8 on confidence level that we're going to win the game Saturday. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm at a 4. Did I mishear him when he said he was going to rotate the guards during the game and have Luke start at left guard and he's going to rotate between Tegra and Austin? If that's his game plan, I don't think we win. I'm just going to be honest. I just don't think we're going to win the game if that's the game plan going in.
What I heard was Luke starting at left guard and Austin and Tegra rotating at right guard. That's what I heard, which, that's something we've seen before. We've seen that happen with Austin and Tegra rotating at right guard during the game. But it was more like Tegra 80% of the snaps, Austin maybe 20% of the snaps. But to Devan's point, Luke Montgomery, and Day was asked this, like, what's happened differently with Luke Montgomery that all of a sudden you think he's good enough to do that? And his answer essentially was, nothing different. We just think it's his time, right? Okay. Well, this is a playoff game. I mean, and people were talking about it all week to me on the show. Like, do you think Josh Padilla would be a better option at center? How do we know? He's never started a game. I have no clue. But Luke is a kid that I know you guys love. I love him. I'm rooting for him. But, man, that's quite a gamble against that defensive line to start this second-year kid, his very first start. I don't know, man. I don't know.
This is Missouri 2.0.
It certainly seems to be an odd time to do that.
It does. For me, this might just be the Buckeye in me, and I might regret this, but I'm still along the same lines of just sticking with the fact that I have faith in, these players that came back, the leaders of this team, and just true, grit from these players wanting to win this game. That's where my confidence has come from. It has never been from, hey, these coaches are going to get the offensive line figured out. It just hasn't. I have just chose the route of believing in these players, believing in Will Howard, believing in our wide receivers, believing in our defense, because our defense is absolutely elite to just overcome whatever obstacles come in front of us. So today's press conference, in a weird way, it put my antennas up to be like, yo, what did I just hear? What's going on right now? But maybe it just might be me preserving myself or protecting myself. But I still have high confidence in us going in and winning this game. Another thing that was brought up during the press conference is I want to get your guys' take on it, because Ryan Day said that Devan Brown is still the backup quarterback, but Julian Sayin is right there. He's right there. He's right there. And what are you guys' thoughts on that? What does that mean? Do you think that's just coach speak of just trying to keep somebody's confidence level up? Or do we believe that Julian Sayin really is getting a lot of reps and he's really right there with Devan Brown? And if that's the case, then when's the switch happening? You guys fine with Devan Brown being the backup? Where you guys at, Juck?
I personally am fine with Devan Brown being the backup, because I just I feel like, I mean, it kind of goes back to I don't understand why we didn't see Julian get more reps at the end of the games as we led into this. It was kind of something that was puzzling me all year. I do think that comment that he made about him being right there was more of a pacifying comment for Julian and Camp Julian to hear. I don't really think that's the case. I think that it's very clear that Devan is the backup to them. I know that they really wanted Devan to remain throughout the playoffs, and he did mention that Gabe Powers won't be here during the playoffs. Ballard, who plays on special teams, won't be here during the playoffs. Kojo's staying for some reason. That was surprising to me. But no, I don't think in their eyes that this is much of a conversation at all. Devan's the clear backup. And, at this point, because you haven't played Julian at all, but at the same time, you haven't played Luke at all, too, right? So, it's just I don't get it, man. But I am with you, Dev. I actually had this exact thought earlier. Like, man, I trust these dudes on the field. I trust these guys on the field to get this done. And all the negativity we had last week, I'm trying to get myself ramped up and feel good. And I think that the SEC and Tennessee fans are helping me do it. Like, they're getting me revved up because they keep talking all this nonsense, and it's just making me mad. So, like, now I'm getting fired up for the game.
So for me, I absolutely 100% trust the players. I still think we have the most talented team in the country. Where I'm wavering at, that I have never wavered at all season until today, is with the gameplay. After seeing what the showing and the game plan from the Team Up North game on November 30th, I was flabbergasted about what they were doing, but I got over that after about a week or so, and I was like, they're going to have a great game plan. Day when he has multiple weeks to game plan, for the most part, he dominates. But listening to the presser today is just kind of like, it took a little bit of the positivity out of my thought process. But I do believe in these players. If they really comes down to, can the O-line be relatively average, and is the play calling going to be good? If that happens, I think we win going away. But if not, then I think it's going to be a long night for us.
Yeah, Tony, what's your thoughts?
I mean, listen, I try not to be all doom and gloom all the time. It's definitely concerning. But, like, I think the one thing that I looked at, like, in my mind today was the fact that Arkansas went up against this Tennessee team, and they were able to block their D-line. They were able to beat them, and we're head and shoulders above where Arkansas is as a team. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I think if we just don't do the crazy, ridiculous things that, like, somehow we seem to do out of nowhere, like, which without thought or foresight or anything, or I think we'll be okay. But it is concerning, and I mean, the transfer portal stuff is concerning. All of it's concerning. Like, I don't know. It's I want to have faith. I'm a Buckeye at heart, and I really think this Tennessee team is good, really good. But they also lost to Arkansas, and I think if we show up like we're supposed to show up, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. All these conversations we brought up, the transfer portal, the media today and all that, like, I want to keep talking about it, and I want to get your guys' thoughts about if you want to or not, because for me, I don't know. I glean more like negative stuff out of everything that's going on in regards to this, and I don't know if it's just like overlay from the game that just, I mean, I know it is. That absolutely just broke me, man, as an Ohio State fan to see that stuff. But, I know there were several other things said in the press conference today. A couple players spoke. Travion Henderson, Donnie Jackson, Will Howard spoke as well, which I definitely want to hit on Will Howard. But does anybody have anything else? We'll keep talking about this. Anybody got anything out of the press conference that they want to bring up right now and talk about before I bring up a few other things? Juck, you got anything, man?
I do want to hit on, not the press conference, but I don't know if everybody saw who's watching in the chat. Last night, Ryan Day did a 10-minute spot with Dom Taberi from Channel 10. And I watched this thing, and I watched it twice to make sure that I wasn't off. And then I read the comments to make sure that I wasn't crazy. It is the strangest Ryan Day I've ever seen. It was disturbing. Something is off. It wasn't his normal self. It just sounded off. I'd encourage anybody to go watch it, or maybe I wouldn't, because it made me like really nervous about the game.
Really uneasy.
It was sketchy. He wasn't himself. It was off, man. It just was off. But to Tony's point about Arkansas, they did lose that game, and Arkansas's defensive line got straight nasty on the Tennessee offensive line. and that does give me some hope. However, Arkansas has a really good offensive line, but that gives me hope for our defensive line that they can make some noise in this game. And we're gonna need them, man. We're gonna need them because Nico can get hot and has the ability to hit long explosive plays. And we saw that with Oregon. Didn't look so good. Their wide receivers haven't had a great year, but they are very talented. I heard somebody comparing them to Penn State's wide receivers. That's a bad comp. These dudes are considerably more talented than the Penn State crew. They just haven't had a whole lot of downfield passing this year. Yeah, go ahead on the next topic. I just wanted to mention that interview last night.
So did you guys hear Tim May's question for Coach Day about taking a pay cut?
Oh, I loved it, dude. I was cracking up in my truck listening to it. He brought up, didn't Norvell, Florida State, donate $4 million of his thing? Well, that's, he won 2 games this season. That's what you do to save your job. But anyway, he's probably forced to do that. Who knows? But that was hilarious, Melo. I texted a couple guys in the group chat, and I was just like, yo, Tim May coming through said, Ryan Day, there's a couple coaches that are donating some of their salary back into the program for nil and whatnot, and Day just absolutely deflected the fire out of it. Just politician at heart, dude. Like, he does that a lot, bro. And I was cracking up, dude. I was cracking up. Juck, I didn't get a chance to watch that yet, but I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Where is this coming from that Day called the team up north just another game? Is it out of that interview? Is that something that got brought up, or is that just I saw a couple people talking about that today?
Oh, they're embellishing. That's not what he said.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He didn't say that at all. But he kept on with the it's a new era, and basically what they're saying by it's a new era is
it doesn't mean
we've all got to snap out of it. It doesn't mean quite as much because we're still in the playoffs, which we could do a whole show about that, which I did the other day. But he's just, he didn't say it's just another game.
Ross Brewer kind of played it down
too. He took that shot at the team up north saying, yeah, we're in the playoffs, but other teams aren't in the playoffs.
Other teams aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It was an interesting press conference today. A lot of people, the results that I'm seeing is a lot of people are feeling way less confident after the press conference today and hearing those things. I spoke to several people. They're all in. Honestly, I went back and I listened to Coach Day, and I never heard him say that Luke Montgomery was going to start. And I never heard, to me, you could have took it in context that they're going to be rotating this week in and out. And he did say Luke deserved playing time. So I get that, but maybe I missed something. I went back and I listened to it twice just to make sure. And in my opinion, you can go either way with what he said. You can go that they're still looking for that starting lineup, which is very disturbing. We're a week out. They've had a couple weeks. So I think either way you go with it, people are going to be disturbed with it. But again, I'm just choosing to have that faith in these players. But did you guys glean something else? Did you hear him say Luke Montgomery is starting? Juck, I know you brought that up. Is that what you heard, or are you getting that because that's what other people are saying?
No, that's the impression I got. He didn't specifically say that.
Yeah.
He's so non-committal to everything, though. Like, he's so ambivalent about everything he says that it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to get your guys' thoughts next on what the media did to Will Howard today, bro, with 75% of their questions, which, some could say rightfully so. You're getting paid big bucks. You came to Ohio State. This is what it is, man. He got asked a bunch of questions. He seemed a little aggravated with a lot of the questions he was being asked today, and he just wanted to keep moving forward. What are your guys' thoughts there, man? Should the media have done that? Should they not have? Where are we at with that?
I mean, I think they just do whatever they want half the time. Like, I think sometimes they try to provoke people and they try to get a response, and like they're as timid as they are over aggressive sometimes. When they smell blood in the water, they attack somebody that may be wounded. Like Will Howard had his first bad game of the year, and they feel like, oh, now we can pester the kid about it because they see they're getting to him. I think they feed into it.
Yeah. Well, then, there's that side of me that's like, hey, dude, this is like the pros now. You're getting paid, and we're fans. We give money to the program to help pay nil. So, it's just a question. You know what I mean? If you're a player and you had a bad game, then, talk about it. Let's hear about it. Let's hear what's going through your head and stuff like that. But Melo, you got any thoughts on that?
One thing I took from Will Howard presser that was interesting, I think it might have been Stephen Means that asked him. He asked him about playing free and loose. And Will Howard's demeanor changed, and you could tell he got super aggravated. That's when I first initially saw that. And he was like, who said that? And he was like, no, Coach Dave was saying, like, you guys got to play loose and free. So I just want to know what that means for you. And he was like, oh, I was just wondering because no one said anything to me about that. And I thought that little interaction right there was telling, like, that something's off. I don't know what it is. But like I said, today's presser just kind of took a little wind out of my sail. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys picked up on that little interaction that he had.
Yeah, I did. Juck, you got any thoughts? Did you glean anything from the Will Howard interview or any thoughts about what we talked about so far?
Yeah, we can go back to the last time Will was up there, and it was after the game, and I talked to a couple guys on the beat, and I was asking them about Will's demeanor, because I don't know if you guys remember his demeanor after the game, but it was very different than we've ever seen. And what my question was to them was, does he have to go up there? Because it certainly didn't seem like he wanted to be up there. And like, are they asking him, like, Will, can you please go up there? Or can he just politely decline? Because he didn't seem like he was in the headspace, didn't want to be up there. And I was just kind of wanting to know if, he could have gotten out of that. Like, yeah, he can get out of that. He doesn't have to do that. And I guess my next question was, did you take from that he was very agitated? Because I certainly did. Not only did they take from that he was very agitated, but they weren't too happy with his demeanor towards them. And then when I saw that today, part of me thought, are we getting him back for the other day? Because they came at him with some pretty very direct questions about the game when they had already asked him after the game. But, you're going to get that when you got a week like we had last week with no media availability, which is something I harp on over and over again. And then that's why half of Chip's press conference, which should have been about Tennessee, was not about Tennessee. Half of it was about Michigan because they didn't have a press conference with Chip. They didn't provide Chip last week. So, like, that's what's going to happen. But, in addition to Devan's point, when you talk about, Will Howard is a professional quarterback. You know what I mean? So I don't have any sympathy for the questions that are being asked, and I don't think any of them were out of line. He certainly got annoyed, but to Dev's point, yeah, he got annoyed with that, which seemed like a weird thing to get annoyed about, playing free and loose. Like, I was like, whoa, why, what's the problem with that? That's something we hear all the time, playing free and loose. That's not a knock. But, yeah, I don't know, man. It was a strange one all the way around. It was just odd. Adding in that one from yesterday, the whole vibe feels different than it has all year.
Yeah. I can't remember who asked the question. For some reason, I thought it might have been Dylan. I know you got Dylan on your show a lot, but somebody asked Will directly and just straight up called him out about it and said, hey, Will, obviously you're aggravated right now. You wear your emotions on your sleeve a lot when it comes to certain questions. How do you separate that in the field? Because on the field, it seems like Will Howard can make a mistake and bounce back from it. Obviously, we didn't see that for the Team Up North game, but yeah, the whole press conference there was interesting. And yeah, the Chip Kelly one, I didn't really get any clarification from him other than I feel like he did say out loud a couple times, yeah, he brought up a couple specific plays that he said he should have should have utilized the players better with certain play calls. So that made me feel better that he brought that up. But did you guys glean anything from Chip Kelly getting up there? Did you get any closure on things? Did it make you feel any better about the game that we watched and the play calling, Melo?
I feel like that he was specifically talking about the interception that in our own end. And he said he could have helped Will out by creating more space for him. That was a tough play for him to make. So at least we are hearing some ownership, and you could tell that he's going to learn from it. So I'm hoping to see that on Saturday as well in terms of him utilizing. He also said getting the ball in the playmaker's hands, which, yeah, I think Optimus Prime needs more targets. Emeka needs more targets. Carnell Tate needs more targets. He was asked about using Q and train the backfield at the same time, and he pretty much nixed that, saying that it depends on what the defense is running and how they respond previously to 2 running backs in the backfield. I would love to see it, especially in passing sets. Make those outside linebackers or the DNs go out in space and cover the running backs. They both can catch and are both elusive. So I think it would just stress the defense out a little bit more just to add a little wrinkle. But yeah, I'm kind of positive with Chip, honestly. That was one positive that I took out of the presser.
Gotcha. Tony, what about you?
I mean, I agree. I think when it comes to coaches taking accountability and being a little more committal and stuff, like Chip, I think understands where he screwed up, and even if it was Ryan Day interjecting himself and all that stuff or whatever, like I think Chip has a solid track record of like finding a problem, fixing it, and moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And like I mean, he is good at what he does. So, I mean, that does give me hope that, like, he's realizing that and moving forward, and hopefully everybody else kind of realizes that and moves forward.
Yeah. Amen. Juck, how about you, man?
Yeah, I don't feel like I got my appropriate pound of flesh. The guy just signed me up for a year of listening to those idiots for the worst game plan we've ever seen. This is why I hated not having him afterwards, because it's like, you want to talk about Tennessee. You want to be positive about Tennessee. You want to talk about that game, but you don't get extra time. I wanted some more questions asked about that horrible game plan, but at the same time, I also want to move on as a fan. And again, that's the media availability last week that we didn't have him is to be blamed for that. But we'll never really have closure for that game because we didn't get to talk to Chip for 20 minutes about why that was called the way it was. We didn't get the broad spectrum, and he does this specifically. He gets into specifics so that it throws those reporters off because they don't know what the hell he's talking about. Melo just broke it down. They don't know what the hell he's talking about. So it just moves them on to the next question. It is what it is, whatever.
So, yeah. Juck, I had a question. Do you guys think he didn't speak at the end of the presser because he didn't call or come up with that game plan and he didn't want to be on the spot to have to answer or throw Day under the bus, or do you think he was just there trying to protect his own self?
I had that thought too, Melo, but when we look back, last year you got the coordinators. Well, Day was one coordinator, but you got Knowles after every game too. This year they were rotating one, then one, then one, then one. And then about game 6, they stopped that. And we've had no consistent access to either the offensive or defensive coordinator in those press conferences since then. So it wasn't unusual that he didn't show up at the press conference, but you would think after a game of that magnitude, anybody with any stones would. Yeah. It irritated me that he didn't. It is what it is, man.
Yeah. I mean, not to harp on it, we're going to move on, but just a thought on that real fast. For me, where I'm at is that a lot of people say Day interjected himself in the play calling quite a bit, and I'm 100% on board with that. I believe that, but in the same sense, it's like at what point in time in the game, as your title being the offensive coordinator, do you not stand up and you just say, you get on that mic and you be like, yo, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing it. So for me, I throw that ball is in the Day, Chip Kelly court together. You know what I mean? It's like, those minds together. Chip should have stood up and said something, or Ryan should have stood up and said, somebody should have stood up and said something that, hey man, this is not working, in halftime or something, and somebody should have done something about it. So I don't know where you guys are on with that, but Juck hit a good point. It's really hard as a fan. It's hard for me, and I text people all day long about this same thing. It's like, they want to be positive, and the longer it goes on, more people are getting on board with that, like fired up about this game and stuff. Juck said the Tennessee fans and the SEC fans, they're really helping us out with that, and they definitely are for me as well. But it's like there's still so many questions that need answered because I still feel like I'm living in a dream. I was literally driving down the road today thinking in my mind, did we really lose that game? Did that seriously happen? So that's the turmoil. And I'm literally forcing myself to just flip that page for now. And if I want to talk about it more after these playoffs are over, I'm going to dive into it more. But, excuse me. That's where I'm at, and I think that's where a lot of the fan base is. It's really hard when we're not getting the answers that we wanna get as to what the heck happened, dude. What happened? So we'll move on. Any final words on transfer portal stuff, or the press conferences today, and we'll dive into the game specifically.
I wanted to say, like, the one thing I was thinking about the transfer portal thing is, like, this is the first time we've had the transfer portal open, and then literally, like, there's been meaningful teams still playing meaningful games. So, like, after the first round, like, you may see a whole bunch of kids hit the portal because they lost and they're out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's the first time we're seeing that. Like, now, granted, that's not like the greatest hope, but like, it's something to say, like, listen, you know, I think when everything's over, like, they'll still have 5 days till the portal to be open. Like, so, like, you know, you could see some crazy people hit the portal after the fact, and like, that's something to hold on to, at least, because right now we don't have much to. So,
yeah, I got you. It's a wild time, bro. In the middle of playoffs, and kids, it's not only a hard decision for coaches, but look at the turmoil these kids are in. You know what I mean? Like Devan Brown having to make a decision for his future, which I think he made the right decision, and I'm glad he's sticking around, and I'm glad he's the backup quarterback. But, bro, that's a lot of pressure for a young kid to be like, dang, bro, this is my team. They're in the playoffs, but if I wait until the playoffs, I'm going to have a week to find a team after that. It's wild. Guardrails got to get put up, but here we go.
Hopefully for Devan Brown, he doesn't have to play because he's in a lose-lose situation. Because if he gets in a game and he doesn't perform well, the fan base is going to want to kill him, especially because he's leaving. And then they're going to want to kill the coaching staff for letting him be the backup, and like they're going to be second-guessing, why didn't you put Julian in? And he's the future of the program. So, like, for him, I hope Will stays healthy, and whether win, lose, or draw, we ride with Will Howard the whole game.
Yeah. Amen. Just one more thing to hit on. Air Nolan did leave in the portal today. A lot of people were talking about it in the chat, so I wanted to bring it up. I mean, kind of surprised me. I was hoping he'd stick it out one more year, but I think it's what's best for him. I think Julian Sane is going to be the future here, but I do think that Air Nolan is a very good quarterback and should have stayed for the competition. But anybody got any thoughts on that real quick?
I want to hear Juck's. I got a question for Juck on that. Do you think that Air and Devan are leaving because they're actively chasing an elite QB in the portal? That's trying to get an elite QB in the portal. Let me reword that. And what's your thoughts on
that? I think that that Devan knows that they definitely are, yes. And as far as Air, I think that has more to do with his style of play and the way, I don't want to say he's been treated. He's not been treated bad, but I think the writing's been on the wall, and we've seen it all year with him not really being included with the other 4 quarterbacks, and he's sitting there watching the guy in his class who is, you know, leaped Lincoln. And I think that has more to do with why Air is heading out. But Devan, yeah, he knows that they're looking for somebody, and they favor Julian. And, you know, when you look at the way this quarterback competition went with him and Will, it was pretty doggone close in the numbers, but he knows that he never really had a shot to win it. Like, that's his point of view. He never really had a fair shot. And that's 2 in a row. Would you come back for a third one in a row when you think the guys didn't really give you a fair shot in the last one? I wouldn't.
No, I agree 100% with you on that, for sure.
Yeah, all righty. Here we go. Flip the page because the season is not over. Like I said earlier in the show, Buckeyes, man, 8 p.m. night game in the shoe. First time ever. First game played in December in the shoe. I believe I'm correct there. But I want to start off with this because this is cracking me up, and I don't know where you guys stand with it. I'll just give you my opinion first. There is so much talk about the weather. There's this big thing going on between the fan bases about the cold and whatnot. And if you really get down to it and you ask me, Devan, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's going to affect the game a bunch, and I'm really glad that it's going to be colder, probably at a 1. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to affect this game. Now, if we were playing in Miami or a Florida or something, but I'm just not there with it. It's just funny to me that it's just turning into this huge thing. And you guys might have a completely opposite opinion. You might think that, oh yeah, huge advantage our way, or huge advantage Tennessee's way, considering their rushing attack. Whatever it is, but let's start there, man. Juck, where you at with this weather thing that's going on with this game that's just all over the place, bro?
For one, Tennessee, it's in the mountains, bro. Like, this is not we're not playing Auburn, you know what I mean? Like, these dudes aren't from Alabama. But for two, when we look at Ohio State's starting lineup, a whole lot of Southern boys, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I think maybe in 1985, if this was Alabama, Ohio State, that would have made a difference. But the whole point about Southern teams coming up to play Northern teams late, like we used to talk about that, and it wasn't just about guys not being acclimated to the weather. It was about how Northern teams had to construct a team to compete late in the year, and they couldn't do as many things with offensive football because they had to be able to focus on running the ball and being a team that can execute like that later on in the year. And that's what that had more to do with than just guys actually coming up who had never played in cold weather. That's different now, of course, as we know. We are Tennessee's a more classic Big Ten team than we are this year. So, yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with anything. And it's just kind of a non-starter for me. The whole issue has been just something to talk about, in my opinion.
Yeah. Chuck, real fast, I got to tell you, dude, I love watching your videos, and I love when you do certain hand signals on your computer, like certain things. I don't know if you just saw, but there was fireworks behind you, and the screen got dark and everything. I don't know what hand thing you just did.
I don't know. I don't know. I try to replicate them sometimes. I can't ever do it when I want to. I don't know what
you were just throwing a party over there, lighting fireworks.
I'm Italian, bro. You know what I mean? It's part of the heritage.
I'm the same way.
I love it, bro. Melo, thoughts on this weather debacle we got going on?
Man, as long as it's not snowing or raining, I'm good to go. I mean, the cold isn't going to, like Juck said, they're in the mountains. When I went up to Ohio State for the soccer ID camp for my daughter, drove right through the mountains. It was pretty cold, and it gets cold right there. So, I mean, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Precipitation is what I would be worried about, and more for our side than their side, because they are better at running the ball than we are, and we're better at airing it out. And their weakness is their DBs. So as long as it's not snowing or raining, I'm good with it.
100%. Tony, quick thoughts?
I think that it's not like we're in northern Minnesota. It's going to be -20. Like it's Ohio. It was snowing here. It was snowing in Knoxville. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was snowing at the same time. Like,
yeah.
It's not a big deal. Like, the kids they've seen snow. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, 100%. So. Sean Rollins, appreciate you, man. Gifted a Buckeye Boys membership to somebody. YouTube does it randomly for some odd reason. So a Scum fan probably got it. Who knows? But anyway, thanks, Sean. Got it. Appreciate you, man. All right. So we're going to break down a little bit. What I did is I just chose a couple areas, passing, offense, and defense. What's up, Juck?
Did you just say Sean paid for a membership for somebody, and you're saying it just randomly gives it to somebody?
It randomly, yep. Now, some have said that YouTube, the algorithm, it gives it to somebody that's in your chat and watches your show all the time. I know for a fact that's not true. Yep. I've seen people get memberships that have never been on a show before, ever. So
that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
I thought that you got to choose when I saw those things pop up. That's weird. Okay, thanks for the heads up on that one.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I've gifted probably 50 memberships, and you can't pick. I want to give it to somebody specific, but to do that, you got to Venmo them the money, and they got to sign up themselves. So it gets wild, bro. Yeah.
There we go.
YouTube, man. YouTube. So like I said, I went down through. I'm just going to read all these statistics just to give everybody kind of an idea. But before I do that, I want to let everybody know that when I read these statistics, the NCAA goes off of your schedule, who you played that year. And statistically speaking, Ohio State has played better defenses, and they have also played better offenses. So that's something got brought up. I have all the specifics. I'm not going to bore everybody with that. I've done the research. I know that to be a fact, that, there's about a 20 team difference. And, let's say Ohio State averages the 38th best defense in the nation that they've played. Tennessee would average about the 58th best defense in the nation. So take that into account when I read these things out here. But as far as passing defense, Ohio State is ranked second nationally, believe it or not. Tennessee is ranked 17th. Passing offense, we're 38, which is wild, and they're 62. Red zone defense, we're first, they're 11th. Red zone offense, we're 40th, they're 88th. Rushing defense, we're 7th, they're 8th. Rushing offense, we're 59th, and they're 9th. Scoring defense, we're first, they're 5th. Scoring offense, we're 17th, they're 8th. Total defense, we're number 1, they're number 4. Total offense, we're number 36, they're number 8. So they are top 10 in both scoring or total defense and total offense. So I don't know who feels led to start, but we could start with whatever it is that you'd like and just go on down the train here.
I think for one, we have definitely played better offenses than them. Like that's not even when we look at their schedule. Outside of their cream puffs, they played NC State, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, then Georgia, who's had a bad offense all year, and Alabama is the only offense that is of consequence. They held them to 24. That was a pretty good job there. But they really padded a lot of their stats with a 71-0 win to Kent, 51-10 against NC State, 69-3 against Tennessee Chattanooga, and then 56-0 against UTEP, which, by the way, that's a whole lot of trash. They really padded their stats on those ones. I'm not impressed with the offenses they faced. They split their games with Alabama and Georgia. They're counting themselves as 3-1 against ranked opponents because they played NC State when they were ranked 24th in week 2. NC State finished 6-6. That's not a ranked win. No. And then in week 4, they played Oklahoma. Oklahoma was ranked 15 in week number 4, and they also finished 6-6. They're 1-1 in ranked games. They can fudge the numbers any way they want, but I think that we definitely have a stronger defense than they do.
Yeah. And now, obviously, before you start anybody else, we know that in the grand scheme of things, the statistics, the numbers, all this stuff does not matter. We know that firsthand. We just experienced that. We don't want to dive into that. But it's all we got to talk about, right? We can't play the game ahead of time and then talk about it so we can watch it ahead of time. That can't happen. This is what we got. This is what we're going to talk about. For the most part, this is a pretty good system to use in comparing teams and judging on how it's going to go when you go up against them. So this is the best we got, man. So, Melo, what's your thoughts, man?
Like I said, play calling matters on offense and the O-line as average. I think our defense, I honestly think our defense will shut down their offense for the most part. I think they're hyped up off this run game and their running back, and he's going to get a whole lot of carries. I think we're going to force Nico to beat us. And I think Nico, he's highly talented, but is he going to get confused with Geno's concepts and trying to dissect that? See, so I believe that in terms of the numbers and everything, like Juck said, they haven't really played anybody of consequence. Even that Alabama team, I don't rate their offense. They're so up and down. You don't know what you're going to get from them. And the SEC is definitely having a down year regardless. Yes, historically, over the past decade or so, the SEC has been a tougher conference, but not this year. So let's be honest. I think their team offensively is somewhere in between Oregon and Penn State, but closer towards Oregon than Penn State. I mean, closer to Penn State than Oregon. And they don't have the same speed at the wideout position. I think defensively, we need to air the ball out. They like to play a lot of press man. You're telling me a freshman in Boo Carter is going to guard and check Emeka Ibuka? Like, I'm sorry. I just don't see it. They have one elite corner, and I don't think he could shut down Jeremiah Smith. So I like our matchup. I like our how it looks for us. Like I said, as long as the O-line is average and the play calling is good and not the same that we had from November 30th, I think we win running away.
Amen. Tony?
I mean, I think I think they've definitely not played a defense as good as ours at all. And I mean, they've looked somewhat pedestrian times against like Alabama, and they lost against Arkansas. Now, granted, I know Arkansas had a good offensive line and stuff or whatever, but like when we get our offense clicking, and when we were throwing the ball down to JJ and Carnell, and we got that going, like I think, if we can get the run game going at least a little bit, even like I think our offense can stack up against their defense as long as we just get the ball out quickly, RPOs, things like that. I think we'll be okay. Like I think overall, like it's not a great matchup, but I think if we come the team we should come as, I think we'll be okay. And I really think that when it comes down to it, the defense is gonna hold their ground. And as long as we finish tackling people like we didn't sometimes at the end of the Michigan game and stuff like that, I think if we really just sound tackling, things like that, I think our defense is gonna hold up. And I think as long as our offensive play calling is not so insane, I have a decent feeling about it. You know what I'm saying? Like we definitely have a puncher's chance, if anything. You know what I'm saying? Like we're favored to win the game, so like it's not that insane to think we win. So I think it all depends on a whole lot of things. But I really think, honestly, personally, with the O-line, I would put the O-line out there that was out there for Michigan. Now, granted, I know they didn't play great, but like I would let them go try to redeem themselves. Do you think they're going to have 2 bad games in a row if we change up the play calling? I think they get a little redemption. I think give them that chance to go, listen, go get your manhood back. Go play like men. Go do this and handle your business. But that's just me.
Yeah. So for me, as far as for us on the offensive side of the ball, I got 2 concerns per se, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Number one, what is our play calling? Are we trying to run the ball to open up the pass game? Right? If that's what we're going to do, I'm going to be a little concerned there. And then number 2, our offensive line, seeing what we decide to do there. So I want to get your guys' thoughts. If I were to say that I wanted this team to come out and use the passing game to open up the running game. Now, let me ask you guys this first. Do you think we're a better passing team than Arkansas, Alabama, and Georgia? Does anybody disagree with that? We are better passing than Georgia, Alabama, and Arkansas. Yes. Any disagreements? Okay. Tennessee gave up 297 passing yards to Arkansas. They gave up 239 passing yards to Alabama. And they gave up 347 passing yards against Georgia. 347 passing yards. So your guys' thoughts real fast on the idea that we come out and we pass the ball to open up the run game, Juck.
I don't think that there is any chance we're going to see it the opposite way. I think that after what they just did, the game plan in the game, they're going to go the total opposite way. And they better, because that's crazy, man. Those teams, no, they cannot compare with Ohio State's passing game. And if they don't take advantage of that 2 weeks in a row, 2 games in a row, it would just be absolutely criminal. And as down as everybody feels about that game, when we look at the 11 prior games, I'm going to say like we're going to see more of that than what we just saw in that one-off, which is clearly in the coaching staff's heads. And we're going to definitely see a whole lot more passing to open up that run, make things a little easier on those guys, especially with now I think Luke Montgomery will start at left guard, and we'll see how that goes, which I am kind of with Tony here. I would run back out the same guys. That's what I would do. But again, we're not seeing Luke in practice. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Melo, what's your thoughts?
I definitely think they should use the pass to open up the run. I think that should have been the game plan all year, because we're a better passing team than a run team, especially once Josh and Seth went down. The holes haven't been the same, especially if you look at the Oregon game. Once Josh Simmons went down, our running numbers decreased exponentially. So we definitely should pass. That's where we have the mismatch. The matchup is in our favor, throwing the ball. And if you get quick passing games, quick slants, hitches, double move when they want to play press man, I mean, we could open them up and take the top off of them And then when they have to put extra DBs in the game, then that's when you can open up the run game and you can screen them to death, move the pocket, RPO them to death. The reason I don't like them talking about rotating the O-line is because I think with this team, Tennessee likes to rotate so much of the D-line that I don't believe that if you temple them, that they could hold up. They're going to get tired. They're not conditioned for that. They're not used to having to play multiple snaps fast. So I think that's the way to kind of slow down their pass rush is to just gas them. And then that's when you can run the ball easier. You could fire off the ball and make your blocks and your combination blocks.
Yeah, that's the next question I wanted to ask because Chip Kelly at Oregon, right? That's what people think of. And what do they think of when they think of that? Fast. Go. We haven't seen that much this year. That got brought up a little bit. And the, Ryan Day's method, Will Howard has had 6 games, 80% completion rate, all that stuff. And I think that has like some to do with the fact that, they're huddling and doing different things, taking their time a little more. But I wonder if we lost Juck. Juck, are you still there?
We got to shut down.
Looks like Juck might be down for the count. Yes, he is. He's down for the count. But anyway, that's what I wanted to see more of that this year. I just thought we would, man, and especially when we'll bring it up again when at the end of at around halftime, the last game, the one time we did it, it worked. But Chip Kelly got asked that today, and the thing that we keep hearing is the fact that the defense adjusted. Well, why didn't you pass as much? Well, they were playing, 2 deep safeties and covering. Well, isn't that the point of an offensive coordinator is to not let the defense dictate you like that much in that regard? Like, figure it out. Figure out a way to make somebody open. They can't double all of our wide receivers that they have. And, Juck kind of brought it up earlier, the fact that we just went through what we went through. You would think that we would literally see the exact opposite game plan. But your thoughts on that, fellas?
So for me, this is the crazy thing. You hear 2 different things. You heard what you just said that Chip said, but then with Day, he's saying, I want them to huddle. They could, and Will could look the players in the eyes, talk about the last play and what they need to do and the down and distances and moving forward. And that's why we've been huddling more and there's less plays. Yeah, there's less plays because you're not running tempo. And the other team's whole thing is to keep your offense onto the sideline so that way you can kill them with all your weapons. So, I mean, to me, it's very simple. You need to tempo Tennessee. You just really do. And maybe they're just trying to throw Tennessee off so that way they're not preparing for that. But, I think at this point they can't prepare for that because that's a conditioning thing. You can't get your conditioning for these 330-plus pound linemen ready in a week. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that's what it is and that they're actually going to use some tempo.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think literally, if people were Northwestern tried to do this and stuff, where we keep us off the field, do that run the ball, time of possession stuff, why we're just feeding into the fact of we'll try to do the same thing. That doesn't even make any sense. I think it's silly and we had that one drive in the scum game. You know what I'm saying? 8 passes, 1 run, right down the field, right down 30 seconds. Why would you not even if they adjusted? That's just the point of an offensive coordinator. You're supposed to readjust. They adjust, you readjust. You know what I'm saying? That's what halftime's for, all those things. And I think, we'll have to be able to do that with Tennessee, you know what I'm saying? Because they are very attacking defense. Their defense is very much a downhill, blitz style defense, you know what I'm saying? And they're trying to get to the quarterback and wreck shop all day. You know what I'm saying? So, we can take advantage of that if we game plan for it and whatever. And, to be fair, we've said all year, maybe they're holding this off so they don't prepare for it. They have never, not once, held some stuff off and secretly done it like we have thought. We all thought Chip Kelly's not putting anything on tape so he can do stuff in the Oregon game, or he put everything on tape so he can do something different in the Oregon game. He didn't. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if there's there's not so secret conspiracy. I think you just have to play better, coach better.
Yeah, 100%. So Juck texted me. The connection did kick him off. Said he's trying to get back on, so we hope he does here. But yeah, man, tempo seems like something that's a must for me. If you look at the differences in defense, right? Melo spoke about this a bunch in the beginning of the year, and that's allowing our players to play more free. I feel like that was the change, right, in our defense side of the ball after the Oregon game, and we saw what happened. We saw what happened in the Indiana game. Now, mind you, we didn't get that much pressure in the scum game on the QB as we probably wanted, but the defense gave up 3 points. 3 points in that game. So whatever the change they made, they freed up our players to play to their strengths. The same thing needs to happen on the offensive side of the ball, and I believe we have speed out the yin-yang on the offensive side of the ball, so turn these players loose, right? When Will Howard was asked today about playing loose, that's what I picture. Bro, play to the strengths of the players that we have. If our offensive line is not our strength, then you're not going to be able to run the ball on gap schemes or whatever it is up the middle. You gotta change it up. You got to do different things, and that's what I want to happen. I want to play loose. I want to look like Georgia look like when we played Georgia in the playoffs, like that. Now I know we don't have C.J. Stroud, but Will Howard can throw the dang ball. He's made some passes. He's had 6 games of 80% completion rate. So part of me thinks that, well, maybe they don't want to do that because we're not in the practices. Maybe Will Howard doesn't have the arm talent to do that, but we've watched him do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We've watched him make those throws. So, for me, to get into something a little different, I feel like if we do that, if we attack with passes, check downs, baby. Check downs, check downs, check downs. I think we can check down the fire out of this team and this defense because they're very aggressive. They like to blitz the QB. They're very talented at doing that. And look at who our check downs are. Travion Henderson, you get the ball in his hands. That happened in the scum game. What'd he go for? 20 yards on a screen pass. So it's like, watch out, man. And that's just what I want to see, man. And I think that's what's needed to be seen. So, Melo, you got anything on that before we switch to the defensive side of the ball?
No, I agree with you 100%. That's what I'm saying. We have to. Will said we need to. This is it. Like, we only have 4 games max left for these seniors and fifth-year guys and transfer guys. We got to leave everything on the field, which means coaches need to leave everything on the field with the play calling. You need to use the RPOs. You need to move the pocket. You need to use screens. You need to use wheel routes, which your running backs that can catch. They're elite at catching. And you need to throw the ball down the field, hit the slants, hit the hits. You need to open up the playbook for real in terms of just the passing game, because I believe that's the only way we're going to have success running, and especially if you're going to not use tempo to tire out this defense. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, shout out Ohio Pod, Eric, man. Yeah, what happened when we used Trey Henderson in the passing game one time this year? Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember what happened down the sideline? Trey Henderson against the linebacker.
Yeah, he cooked. Did you see that route?
Yeah, bro.
That route. He ran that route like a wide receiver. He runs routes better than any team up north wide receiver they had in the past decade.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So, speaking of our defense, switching to the other side of the ball, we are, rushing defense. Theirs is similar to ours, but again, which offenses have they played? I am not that concerned with that. This is where I'm most comfortable. Like, I believe our defense will be able to stop their rush. Now, here's my one concern. The fourth quarter is my concern. And why it's my concern is because of rotations. And it's one of those things where you would think that it's obvious, right? You would think that after the Oregon game that it would have been that moment, kind of like we're talking now of, we don't think our offense is going to come out and try to run the ball down their throats because we just had this game and we saw what happened there. So there's no way the offensive staff is going to do that. Well, we've already had that game with the rotations, right? it's happened last year. It's happening this year. So apparently that's not one of the things that is obvious to this coaching staff. And I don't know what's going to make that obvious. But if I had to like put, I know I'm concerned with the offensive line, but I do think the coaching staff's going to make the changes needed to be able to move the ball and score enough points. But are we going to rotate enough to keep our elite defensive playmakers, fresh enough in the fourth quarter to do what they need to do? Thoughts on the defensive side of the ball and the rotations we just talked about?
I'll let Tony go first.
I mean, I think if we rotate, I think it'll be good. I think the kids we rotate in need to be impactful when they're in there. I think Caden McDonald absolutely needs to play more. I think Caden Curry needs to play more. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think because when they're in there, I think they're impactful. And I think as long as we do that, and like, they do have an all SEC rushing attack, but like literally, I think if we hold the line and we rotate, we don't let our dudes play 60 snaps. Like, I think they'll be okay. Like, but they, when people are in there, we have to put the right people in there at the right times. And, I think Larry Johnson gets a bit timid, where he like thinks like, oh no, like I gotta have these people in there. Like the other people are not going to do good. When Caden McDonald and Caden Curry have shown that when they're in there, they're impactful. They can be impactful. So like at this time, like, I mean, you have nothing left to lose at this point. Like, it's shut up or go home time. So you might as well put people in there that are going to be impactful, that have been impactful, and do what you haven't done all year. That has led us to things like the fourth quarter meltdowns when we stop and people break off 20-yard runs when they should have been tackled in the backfield.
Yeah, there's one thing I want to hit on that I'm not on board with, and I've heard a couple people talk about it, and it's this idea that the second string people have not given the coaches enough to put them in more. Like Kenyatta Jackson was brought up, Hero Canoe and something like that. Well, let me ask you this. Has there been a 10-play series where Tyleik Williams has not done something spectacular? I'll answer that for you. Yes, right? Has Hero Canoe ever played 10 snaps in a row? Let me answer that for you. No. Has Kenyatta Jackson ever played more than 10 snaps in a row? Let me answer that for you. No. Point is that some of these players, they got to be in long enough to get in the feel of the game, to get warmed up, to understand their defense and run that down. Oh my God. It happened, dude. Heck yeah. Yes, sir. Bro. Perfect timing, Juck, man.
Sorry, guys.
We need somebody else on this conversation, dude. We needed somebody else because we beat it like a dead horse. What we're in the middle of right now, Juck, just to get you right into it, is we're on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about the offensive side and all that, and we just hit the obvious stuff. We're on the defensive side of the ball, and I brought up that my number one concern there is the fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter is my number one concern because of defensive rotations. And I'm in the middle of – I've heard a lot of people say that the backups have not given the coaches enough to give them playing time, and I'm not there with that. And the point I was bringing is the backups haven't been in long enough to get in a feel of the game, to get warmed up and to even make these plays. So, like the Kenyatta Jacksons, they've never played 10 snaps in a row to get into the feel of the game and actually make a play. So, where are you at with that, man?
I'm totally with you, man. It's so frustrating because what did we hear all preseason? All preseason, which I said at the time, I think that this is what they're using, and they're only going to be able to use it one time, is to go on and on about how long the season is. We're going to need everybody. And we heard the players parroting their line nonstop, guys like Jason Moore and Hero Canoe and dudes we expected to see this year, all parroting that line. The season's so long, they need us. They're going to need everybody. And they did this intentionally to make sure anybody who was thinking about the portal didn't need to worry about that because they're going to play this year. And we saw it a little bit early, and then it started to slowly fizzle out. And as we got to the back half of the season, almost the exact same as last year when it comes to playing the depth. The exact same. But I'm with you, man. It's a concern. These guys, when we've seen limited action of guys like Tywon Malone, that he had one really good game. Hero Canoe, pretty disappointing. But Kenyatta, Caden Curry, these are guys that should be playing way more snaps. And it's bothersome. We have seen some more Jermaine Matthews recently. I like that a lot. But as a whole, it's not been good enough playing the depth. And I'm with you that I don't think that they've gotten a fair shot to really prove that. When we talk about the defensive line, in particular, with a team that's running tempo, like Tennessee's going to tempo the heck out of us, I really do believe that the best way to go about it is what Tennessee does on their defensive line, which is consistently rotate. And we're not going to see that, but I wish we would.
Yeah, so Ohio Pod's got a question for you, Juck. Thanks for the $5, Eric. He said, hey, Juck, has anyone ever messed your name up so bad that you had to put it in a video? What's that about?
Just one guy.
Oh, yeah. I know. I got it.
There's this one guy, yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. But, yeah, man, so that's what I was bringing up. I had brought up the fact that you brought up that obviously what happened last game offensively was so obviously not the right way to go about it that it's going to change this game, right? So we have faith that running the ball up the middle, the coaches saw that. It was so obvious that they'll never do that again. Why doesn't that happen with rotations? How is that not along the same lines of so obvious that a 340-pound defensive tackle can't play 53 snaps, dude? They can't do it.
Well, it did.
Why is
you remember it did happen after Oregon. That was one of the key differences in changing up the blitz schemes for the turnaround on defense. And then it came back against the team up north because the coaches got tight. Whoever it is, I still think the buck stops at the top. I think all of this stuff stops at the top because you see certain things happening for years, and there's different people in different positions. So they stop rotating again. So hopefully this game they will rotate. And to answer your question, yes, the people that were saying that the second string isn't good enough or talented enough, you're out of your mind. These are all high 4-star and 5-star guys. They could play. I've been watching Kenyatta and Caden Curry doing great things every time they get in the game. K-Mac is probably, in my opinion, the best run stopper on the team. Edric Houston has 7-foot arm length. It's hard to lock up on them, especially with a guard. Like, I don't want to hear that as a poor excuse for people to try to pacify the fan base and to patronize the fan base, honestly, and to just throw scarlet colored glasses on for the coaching staff, whether they have relationships with them or not. But we need to keep it honest where we're at. Like, you need to rotate. That's it. Like, there's no excuse. I don't want to hear it.
Listen, Jim Knowles, a direct quote from Jim Knowles at the beginning of the year was, our second string is so good, we consider them starters. They're the same as those guys. That's Jim Knowles said that. Like, if that's the case, then why are they not playing? Why did you not show us any rotation for 11 games? That doesn't make any sense to make that statement openly in public and then just go, well, I think this Larry Johnson gets a bit tight. It's Ryan Day and Larry Johnson getting tight.
I don't think it's Larry. I don't think it's Larry at all. But
those guys would have been starters. You know what I mean? Like, they would have been starters. Like, what would you have done then? But in the chat here, Fred Ahmed, a Tennessee fan, says that Tennessee will play 11 across the defensive line. Could you imagine that?
Oh, they would get cooked. I wish they did that.
So here's the problem. Here's the other problem with this statement that our second string isn't good enough to come in and play. Well, then that means out of all these defensive linemen and defensive ends, you can't coach somebody up to be good enough to come in a game, or you recruited these players, you're developing them. So, like, either way you look at it, there's no excuse that doesn't point to the coaching. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just no excuse that doesn't. And I don't think that's true. You know what I mean? I think it's what Melo said. They just get tight in the game because I think all of our defensive coaches on the staff, they're elite coaches. We got the number one defense in the nation, and that my biggest confidence is in our defense stopping them. But I'm nitpicking here with the rotations in the fourth quarter. Like, that has to change, right? If this game's going to come down to a field goal at the end, or we got to make a run, or we got to stop them, then you're going to have fresh players in the game. Like, it's one of those things that's been – it's not a guess. We're not sitting here like telling you what we think. We're telling you what we know because we've seen it over and over again. So this isn't like a thing that's up for debate, man. You have to rotate. So, yeah, I'm confident in us stopping their rushing attack. I want to get your guys' opinions on our secondary compared to their wide receivers. So somebody start with that. Juck.
Yeah, I think
Nobody's talking.
Little quick Squirrel White presents no issues at all. Jordan Hancock's going to shut him down. They got Chris Brazel and Brew McCoy on the outside. Those dudes are pretty damn good. They're pretty damn good. I could see Brazel definitely giving some issues. That dude's about 6'5". He's made some really nice acrobatic kind of catches throughout the year, and some potential to beat us deep. Like there's the potential there for Nico to hit some explosives for sure. Which is again back to your point about the defensive line. These dudes need to be fresh and bringing the heat. But yeah, there is potential there for them to beat us with these guys for sure. They're definitely really good guys.
Yeah, Tony.
I think I agree with Juck, but I just think like our defense has been playing so good at this point. Like I don't necessarily, there is potential there, yes, but I think it ends up us beating them more than them beating us. You know what I'm saying? Like I think. Really,
yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
I think the scheme is going to dictate. I think the blitz packages that we're going to send at Nico. He hasn't seen them all season. He's a redshirt freshman, his first year starting. I think is gonna discombobulate him, and he's already wishy-washy on his deep balls. So in terms of that matchup, I like us. I honestly think our defense is going to dominate their offense. I'm really just concerned with the O-line. That's pretty much it. And who's calling the plays?
Yeah, I mean, freshman quarterback, first game in the playoffs. He got them legs, man. He's tall, lean, covers a lot of ground with each stride. So our linebackers got to be on their A game and containing the quarterback. But obviously, like most quarterbacks in the nation, if you're able to put a little pressure on him, he will start slinging that thing when he should not sling it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be looking for that as well. And I just hope that we see another replay of the Indiana game, because was that not fun to watch our defense in that game? Did that not get your guys' dude? Bro, if somebody would have videoed me watching that game, bro, I was up and screaming so many times. You did just something about sacking a quarterback that it changes the game, bro. The momentum just swings. It might be one of the most powerful things in football. When you
Can you guys imagine Jack Sawyer coming in and hitting this dude? He just needs 3 hits on him in his ribs. That kid is not going to want any parts of that ever again. He's very lean. And that's just me being kind with saying he's lean.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm thinking with all this time, Jim Knowles, bro, as much as people want to harp on him or whatever, I'm not in that bandwagon. I love Jim Knowles, especially
for sure.
Now that Ryan Day has given him the freedom to do what Jim Knowles wants to do. We saw the results of that. Got a lot of continuance. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, man. Juck, are you cool with giving a score prediction right now? Because that's what I was going to do, or we'll shut her down. We'll either do score predictions around the screen, or we'll give some final words and shut her down.
Let's go. I've not given an initial one. Let's do it.
All right.
Gotcha.
Start it off. I need a second here.
I'll start it off.
All right, Melo, start it off with final words and your score prediction.
Final words. Hey, Buckeye Nation, show up, show out. Be supportive. Let's go ahead and get this win. I believe the Bucks win 24-20.
All right.
24-20.
I'll go. I hope we come out like offensively with a game plan like Oregon, and we were able to torch them deep. Like we actually hit those deep balls. It'll open up the running later, and I think that's where we're gonna lie. We have to put our strengths where our strengths are, and deal with our weaknesses as we can. Therefore, I'm going 31-17.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
I literally wrote down my score. What's my score say? It says Devan 31-17. Tony.
I picked that last weekend on my
show. You saw it, dude. All right, Tony's got 31-17. Whatever, bro. Yeah, Buckeye Nation, I know it's hard to get over what we saw last game, but we're not fans of just the coaches, right? We're fans of the Block O, baby. We're fans of Ohio State. We're fans of these players. They came back to be Buckeyes. They could have went to the NFL. A lot of them came back. Kids like J.J. Smith had so many opportunities to go elsewhere. He came to Ohio State, man. He came to Ohio State because it's the Block O, baby. This is Ohio State. So dig down deep into your gut, man, and your soul, and find that strength to just forget about the game that we saw that broke us. And let's stand up and be Buckeye Nation and root these kids on, man, these young men. Will Howard, bro, if you don't like him, shove it down, bro. Root for him. Let's get pumped up. If you're going to the game, bro, stand up, dude. Make a lot of noise, man. I have got to change my score now, so I'm going to still say that they score 17 points. Do I want to go up or down? I'm going to go up, bro. I'm going to get crazy and wild. 38-17 Buckeyes. How confident am I in my prediction? I'm not that confident, but it's still my prediction. 38-17.
Yeah, so I am going to go with Buckeyes 35, Tennessee 28. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring because everybody else is thinking it's going to be a rock fight. And I always fade the public on things like this. We're going with a higher scoring game. And our question, our merit as fans, as a fan base, like the gauntlet's been thrown down, and they are the entire SEC calling us soft, calling us weak. We're going to let Tennessee come in here, sell out the stadium. Like, we know that's not going to happen. There will be some Tennessee fans, and they're going to come up and really understand that, no, this is nothing like they've been hearing guys like Herb Street say. It's going to be rocking. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. And this is the week. The offseason's so long. We've got all offseason to talk about what went wrong should things not go right. We've got all offseason to talk about the game, the issues we have. Like, this week is game week. It's time to flip into that positive mindset and let's get rolling, man, because this is going to be fantastic. And when we win this game, it's going to be on to Oregon for a rematch, and things are definitely going to be totally changed. So why waste all week worrying about last week? We've got a serious run coming here, and it's just going to take just one to wash this out of the system. So let's just get on the positivity train and get it rolling.
Isn't it time for Ohio State to get that one in a playoff? Isn't it time? Like, we watched Clemson. We saw what happened in that game with the officiating. We saw what happened in the Georgia game with the officiating. It's time, bro. It's time for the ball to roll our way, man. It just is, dude. Too much talent, too much, the most winningest college football team in the last 25 years. It's time, man. It's time, bro. And last time they switched to a 14 playoff, guess who won the title? Us. We just switched again to 12 teams. We taking it home, man. Does anybody know the officiating crew for this game? Has that been announced? Does anybody know? I'm trying to find their personal information just because I'm going to send them a donation.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to send them a donation.
A fruit basket.
Does anybody know? Is it SEC group? Is it a Big Ten group? We don't know, but we'll see. But, all right. Yeah. Hey, Juck, appreciate the heck out of you coming, man. We'll definitely have you on again, dude. It's a joy watching you grow over there. Your channel is having the utmost success. So if you have not heard of Juck for some odd, weird reason, go over there. Juck on Bucks, dude. He streams on the Menace as well. Go over there to his channel, subscribe to his channel, get in there. Very entertaining, gives a lot of good information. Get them inside sources too, dude. Talks to a lot of recruits. So if you want some information nobody else has, go over there, check out Juck on his channel. Buckeye Nation, we appreciate you. We love you to death. Couldn't do this without you. Don't forget, man, we can take super chats. You can join and be a member now for $1.99, man. So we love you guys. It's time, man. Flip that switch in your head to positive. I know there's a lot of negative. Juck said it. We can get to that after the season. After the title, we can get to that, man. But time to root for him. So on that note, we appreciate you, Buckeye Nation. Go Buckeyes. OH.
Ayo.